Hello folks. You might have noticed the weapon meta has become a little stale recently in Warzone. So today I'm going to try and entice you with my top 3 ultra long range assault rifle builds. Maybe you'll walk away with something feeling a little bit fresh for a while, and even something you could potentially take on the sniper rifle supremacy in Big Map. So I'm grateful to Tony at TrueGameData.com because thanks to him we've got this handy chart. It makes it easier to see which of these guns are the ones that are worth bothering with. So out here is our longest range. On the left hand side we've got time to kill, with the number at the top being the slowest time to kill an enemy. What we want is a line that goes nice and low all the way down to the bottom over here. So from that reasoning, we can get rid of the MCW straight away. The white line all the way up here, we're looking at a stupid time to kill, get rid of it. The Ram 7, not worth bothering with, but just not as competitive as some of these other things I'm going to go with today, and you're probably bored to death of it as well. So let's get rid of these now. That leaves us with the BP50, HOLGER 556, SVA 545 and an MTZ 556. And the reason we're going to get rid of the MT 556 out of the mix right now is because of the recoil pattern. It's just got this right to left to right kink in it, because what we're talking about is an ultra long range build here. So although technically the 556 has got a really competitive time to kill, it's just that recoil pattern means it's just not as worth bothering with. And for that reason, let's get rid. The point of these builds is high bullet velocity and very manageable recoil. So these are easily suited for both mouse and keyboard or controller. So to kick off the top 3, in at 3 is the HOLGER 556. Hard hitting, reliable, but with a slightly slower fire rate. It's got a good damage profile, a really nice recoil pattern, very predictable. Definitely give this a go if you just want to try something new. There's just no deviation on the recoil pattern at all, so very easy to use. In at number 2, in terms of traditional AR builds, this is my favourite, the BP50. This thing's an absolute beam. It's great on controller, but it's even better on mouse and keyboard. There's a slightly greater vertical recoil pattern. There's such little visual recoil on this gun, it's super easy to control. Mouse and keyboard player's dream, honestly. But even if you're on controller, the recoil pattern is super smooth, so it just means pulling down on that right stick just that little bit more to keep it on target. It's got the best handling out of these 3 guns, a really strong bullet velocity, and it's got a very fast fire rate. So if you're missing some of your shots, if you're a little bit less accurate at times, this one's not so punishing as the 556. And then at the top spot, it's a Call of Dutyism. What do I mean by that? Is it cheesy? I don't know, but it's a little bit different. It's not your classic AR. Are we taking advantage of something in the game? Not really, but is it going to get nerfed at some point? Quite probably. So in at number 1, it's the SVA 545. With a slight change to this build, it has a 2-shot hyperburst at the start of holding the trigger down, which releases 2 shots at once. And the way we take advantage of this is by switching over to single fire mode. So instead of using your classic full auto, holding the trigger down, you'll instead tap fire in single fire. Sounds a bit odd, but trust me, it works. Coming up in just a moment, I'm going to do a recoil comparison of all 3 guns, and you'll see exactly why. Despite the fact, technically, on paper, this has a slightly slower TTK, this is the top gun. They're not trying to offset the recoil at all. The builds I've got, these are the natural recoil patterns. This is what you've got to deal with. BP50. Almost no bounce, little more vertical recoil, but hardly any bounce. But then the reason why the SVA, I'm picking it as top, despite the fact it doesn't technically have the best stats, check this for a recoil pattern. And just to show, it's not fluke, absolutely repeatable. Just slide it over slightly. I'll go as fast as I can now. You can't get this thing to show any recoil at all. You put that on a target and you basically don't touch the right stick. You just got to adjust left and right slightly. Might get a little bit tiring on Rebirth, but for big map where gunfights aren't as often, absolutely my top recommendation. Just going through the builds, I'm not going to dwell on them too long because they're all built for super long range, so they all follow a similar format. That's in that they've all got the Corio 2.5 times Eagle Eye scope on, really clean sight. Although, obviously, if you prefer a different one, you go with a different one. We've all got the larger round mag on, so for the HOLGER 556, that's a 40 round. BP50 is slightly bigger with a 50 round mag, and then a 45 on the SVA 545. To the HOLGER and the BP50, I've fitted the VT7 Spirit Fire suppressor, because this is going to boost our bullet velocity and reduce our recoil. And then specific to the HOLGER 556, we've got the Cryos 6 match barrel and the RB Adult Assault stock. Both, again, going to reduce that recoil. So big mag, sight and suppressor unchanged on the BP50, but then on the barrel, we've got the Law 9 heavy barrel, again to increase that bullet velocity and reduce some of that recoil, matching that with the Forebear heavy stock for maximum recoil control. This is my ultra long range variant of the BP50. However, if you want to go into Rebirth Island perhaps, or Fortune's Keep, this is absolutely a great gun to use. But in order to get some better snappiness, particularly if you're on controller, you might want to swap out a couple of these attachments. You could get rid of the sight because we're not zooming out to mega long range. And instead have the Mote 40 stock, which is just going to further reduce some of that recoil gun kick with the iron sight. And because we've freed up the attachment from the optic, we can fit this rear grip on, the TRST4 grip tape, which again is going to even further reduce the recoil. This thing is an absolute bean. This is one I've shown in a previous video. Just doesn't move. Super predictable. I mean, like, a recoil pattern just doesn't get any nicer than that. And then finally our SVA build. So we've gone for the same sight, the large mag again. Slightly different suppressor this time. Because we're not bothered about controlling recoil, we're more interested in maximum bullet velocity and that damage range. So that's why we've gone for the sonic suppressor instead of the Spiritfire. We've got the high grain rounds on there because again we want to really boost that bullet velocity, and we're not as bothered about the recoil because as you've seen it's not got any in burst fire mode. And then finally the STV precision barrel. As you can see, the bullet velocity on this gun is absolutely incredible at 1134. That's basically sniper rifle kind of bullet velocity. So what this means is you're not having to lead your shots as much. Where you aim is where your rounds are going to go. Which, given the fact there's no recoil on this gun, it simply couldn't be much easier to use. If you've not seen anything like these builds I've come up with, then please try it out and see what you think. Please come back for Season 3 Reloaded, where we'll have the new weekly challenge, as well as hopefully some new weapon unlocks. I hope you've enjoyed the video, but for now, I'm out.